Lorry stuck under a tunnel.
no, that was my mum. That's all right, it was my mum. She'd tie a piece of string around it and tie it to the door handle. Close the door. Close the door. You probably couldn't do that nowadays. It's done for cruelty. The Isley Brothers now, Harvest for the World. This is a classic track with brilliant words that mean just as much today as when it came out. So enjoy.
See the kind of shine of some glue where she's stuck in a photo. It's an act of translation. It starts with a Latin poem about the death of a brother, and through the pages, each word of this Latin poem is translated to the English with a dictionary definition. So when you first open the book, you don't really know what she's doing, and then it kind of occurs to you as you read that this is a translation. And then it's interesting because the book itself is also a translation of a life. She had, very few scraps of her brother's life. They were estranged and they rarely spoke on the phone, and she knew very little of him. He was almost a mystery to her by the end of his life. So it isn't easy to explain the beauty of this book. I'm just going to read from the very first page. It begins, "I wanted to fill my elegy with light of all kinds, but death makes us stingy. There is nothing more to be expended on that. We think he's dead. Love cannot alter it."
Exercised by those videos, can't you? Pete, thank you, Rosie. Pete in Epsom, hello there.
Good afternoon, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. You're a retired police officer.
I am. I was one of the original, I was a dog handler in the Met for 30 years, and then one of the original dog legislation officers, and have since been involved in all the training nationally, policy, and just about everything. But it was just refreshing to hear how sensible this last your interviewees have been for the last 40 minutes or so, and it is a discussion and a topic that needs discussing in a sensible and calm way.
That if we're going to own dogs and have them around our children and ourselves, we need to know what we're doing.
Absolutely, and it's interesting because over the years I've been involved in obviously the police enforcement and the government, and it's my view now that we really, we have to do something. 30 years ago, the bad boys were huskies or Rottweilers, and now we've had this introduction of these incredibly powerful, different international breeds, and now off the scale, they are so different.
And they're not legislated for.
Exactly. Well, you've got the controversy of the Section 1, the prohibited breeds, but this is 30 years now, and of course we've got crossbreeds, and the identification is by how they look, and that's the controversial part. Whereas now there are many breeds that can be as strong, but there is no legislation. And
well, it's good to know that that's something that we need to look at, isn't it, at this point in time. Pete, thank you for your call, Pete in Epsom. I'm glad he thinks the conversation was sensible about dogs. If you missed any of today's show, you can listen back on Catch Up on Global Player. You'll find all of LBC shows there, as well as the best video clips from LBC and other global stations. You can download Global Player for free from your App Store or head to globalplayer.com. Very simple. Coming up at 6, it's Andrew Marr, but now Tom Swarbrick.
Sheila, thank you very much indeed. Afternoon all. Welcome to the show. At 4 o'clock.
the exciting bit. I love this bit.
Pre-payback time. Ofgem to investigate after British Gas debt collectors recorded forcing people onto prepayment meters.
There's no excuse. There's nothing really I can say to that. Everybody can make their own judgment. It's unacceptable.
Avato, a company hired by British Gas to fit meters, are accused of breaking into customers' homes and ignoring warnings of vulnerability to install prepayment meters. British Gas has paused the practice for now. Were you forced unreasonably onto one of those meters? Yeah. And how can it possibly be the case that those with the least pay more for their energy than those on direct debits? And do companies have the right to recover monies owed? If so, how best to do it?
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 4 o'clock, the Bank of England has revamped its economic forecasts, and although the UK will still suffer a recession, the dip will be softer than previously thought. Interest rates are going up from 3.5% to 4%, despite predictions that inflation has now peaked. Labour's Shadow Chancellor Rachel Reeves told LBC the rise will hit household budgets.
Of course, the decision by the Bank of England today, to get a grip of inflation, but it is going to have a big impact on family finances. And talking to people who are struggling to get on the housing market and to talk to the estate agent here in East Finchley is about trying to understand the impact of that on family finances and also on the wider economy.
Prosecutors have dropped charges of attempted rape, coercive control and assault against footballer Mason Greenwood. The Manchester United forward was arrested in January last year. He had been due to go on trial in November. LBC's Tom Dunn has more.
The CPS have said the withdrawal of key witnesses and new material that came to light meant there was no longer a realistic prospect of conviction. Manchester United are yet to comment on this latest development.
The government has ordered an inquiry into the Omagh bombing in 1998. It follows a long-running campaign by a relative of one of the 29 people who died in the attack in County Tyrone. It was the biggest single atrocity in the Troubles in Northern Ireland. The family of missing Nicola Bulley say they're stuck in a nightmare and dread the thought of never seeing her again, as specialist teams continue searches and officers issue a new appeal. A second potential witness has been found. The mother of two was last seen in St Michael's on Wyre in Lancashire on Friday morning, walking her dog. Nicola's father, Ernie, says it's like she's vanished.
It's hard. It's hard. We're such a close-knit family. We are a close-knit family, I'm sorry. But we're such a close-knit family. We do anything for any one of us.
The head of British gas owner Centrica has apologised for alleged practices used to install prepayment meters. An investigation found the company sent debt collectors who broke into customers' homes. This month's League Cup final will see some supporters permitted to stand at Wembley for the first time in 35 years. Manchester United and Newcastle will get 800 safe standing places behind the goals. In the city, a short time ago, the FTSE 100 was trading up 57 points at 78.18. The pound buys $1.23 and €1.13. At LBC weather, most places dry with variable cloud tonight. Showers moving into western parts later, a low of 5 degrees. Light rain in Scotland tomorrow, otherwise dry and mild with some cloud cover and a high of 12 degrees. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Tim Humphrey.
This is LBC. From Global, leading Britain's conversation with Tom Swarbrick.
Just gone 4. Hello, afternoon. Welcome to the show. Tom Swarbrick at Drive here on LBC. Hope you're well. This afternoon,
I don't think it's a scandal that Shell is making money. The government is refusing to act and ensure that those profits are taxed fairly.
after making record-breaking profits, Shell is shown to have chucked more on buybacks for shareholders than investing in renewable energy. Labour want another windfall tax on them. We'll discuss. Also,
the monarch will still be on the coins, but the $5 note will say more about our history and our heritage and our country.
Struth, King Charles's face won't be on Australian banknotes. Is this an example of the slow march to Aussie republicanism? If you're an Australian in the UK, are you pleased that the King won't be noted, so to speak?
Call 0345 60 60 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850. Tom Swarbrick on LBC.
Very good afternoon to you. It's pre-payback time for British Gas. On this show over the last few months, we've talked about the sharp practices of those who place people struggling financially onto these prepayment meters. The measure of vulnerability of someone in that situation down anywhere, it's not objective, that the requirement on the companies to explore other ways of helping vulnerable people just hasn't been followed. That people are switched onto these prepayment meters via their smart meters, that locks are broken into and meters installed, as the Times investigation this morning suggests, without any occupant being home. The grimmest detail of this investigation today, I thought, was that the people who forced their way into someone's home to install that prepayment meter when those people weren't there decided to use the toilet as well. The disrespect and disregard for people who are clearly struggling is off the scale. Ofgem now say they've launched an investigation. That's another regulator who seemed to stand back and watch the horse bolt from the stable, having been told that horses are bolting but don't bother to shut the door. British Gas now say they are suspending the use of court warrants to force prepayment meter installations, but obviously wouldn't have done that had they not been caught, despite the testimony of lots of people across plenty of programmes for a long time about the realities of being put onto prepayment meters. I do happen to think that if you owe money, the people you owe it to should be able to find a way of getting that money back. That seems relatively reasonable, but the disproportionately damaging way in which people are not just being put on prepayment meters, but as this investigation showed, left without heating or electricity, is terrible. Is this something you've experienced, something you can show that the regulator and the companies have been more than aware of, and it's only now that they are catching up, that they've been exposed? And is there a way for people to have some energy supply, some way of heating the house, even if they don't have the money to pay for it then and there? That being able to heat your home is closer to a right than a luxury. It'll have to be paid for, but the idea that for the poorest people, that the lights go out and the radiators go cold and there's nothing you can do, feels Dickensian. Is that a picture of reality? 0345 6060 973. Ed Miliband, the Shadow Business, Energy and Climate Change Secretary, was on the radio this morning suggesting that actually there shouldn't exist the possibility of people going without energy. That whilst they have supply continuously to your home, if you don't have any money to go into the meter, you can't put the lights on, you can't put the radiator on. Should that really be the case? Joe Malinowski is founder of The Energy Shop, a free, independent, totally impartial service that brings customer deals for gas and electricity supplies. Thanks for coming on, Joe. Are you surprised by this?
I'm absolutely shocked, actually. I mean, it is one of those things where you kind of, been following this market for a long time. We've always known that some suppliers have a right to, if you get behind on your payments, that they have the right to actually, put you onto a different tariff or install a prepayment meter. But this has really hit an absolutely new level of things you really didn't think could happen or would happen, and certainly not, the largest energy supplier, a FTSE company, household name, would pursue these kind of practices. It's not just that the whole thing is absolutely despicable and shocking. Anybody with any sort of shred of compassion can see that. It's just that, on top of that, legally, they, according to the charging structure, they can actually then charge you penalties for doing what they have just been found out they are doing, for applying these court orders and breaking into your home and charging you meter. They can then send you a bill for the costs. I mean, it's just. Just takes it to a new level of horror altogether.
The one of the part of the allegation here is that British Gas didn't try and find other ways to protect people from having to have a prepayment meter installed before then doing it. That this test of vulnerability was largely ignored. Is there a formalised description of what vulnerable means in that context?
Yeah, it is where you kind of would be in a position where you're not. I haven't got the official wording in front of me, but it would put you in a situation where you're not able to sort of necessarily look after yourself. So there are protections around that. I think the difficulties have been, and this is the question that you've posed so eloquently at the beginning, which nobody who is raising the issue is not citizens' advice or saying it should be forced. We should not have forced switches, not Ofgem bouncing it back on a company sort of saying this is behaviour they're not allowed, they should pursue every other option, or indeed the energy minister sort of saying how dare they behave. Nobody is asking how we solve the problem of, letting people who cannot afford energy to use energy, which ultimately means they will get into an irreversible debt spiral. Because, as you mentioned, at some point that energy has to be paid for.
Yeah.
The question who pays for it, and there's quite a significant minority of people out there who want prepayment meters. They're prepared to pay a little bit more for them because it gives them the peace of mind of knowing that they are in control of finances. They're not getting into debt themselves, and they have full control because the debt worry is great.